Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and treasure hunters. Today, we are diving into the fascinating world of the four most valuable and expensive ultra-rare United States coins ever discovered. Some of these incredible coins have sold for astonishing prices, turning ordinary pocket change into life-changing treasures. Stay tuned as we uncover their history, rarity, auction records, and the secrets that make them worth a fortune. First up, at first glance, a 1953 Jefferson nickel looks like the kind of coin that disappears into a pocket without a second thought. But appearances have fooled collectors more times than they care to admit. One important fact comes first. Jefferson nickels were United States coins, not German coins, so if you have heard the phrase 1953 German Jefferson nickel, it is almost certainly a misunderstanding or a mistaken label. Even so, the genuine 1953 Jefferson nickel has built a reputation for surprising discoveries that continue to fascinate experienced collectors. Millions were struck, making it seem impossible that one could stand apart, yet hidden among ordinary examples are pieces that reveal tiny manufacturing differences capable of transforming an overlooked coin into a remarkable collector's prize. That possibility has fueled decades of searching, with countless people wondering whether the next forgotten coin sitting in an old jar could tell a story no one expected. The journey of the 1953 Jefferson nickel begins during a period when American commerce was booming and coins were expected to withstand years of heavy circulation. Produced from a copper-nickel alloy that gave the coin its familiar silver-gray appearance, the design features Thomas Jefferson on the front and his historic home, Monticello, on the reverse. Although production was routine, the minting process was never completely perfect. Dies gradually wore down, presses shifted under tremendous pressure, and planchets occasionally entered the machinery with subtle imperfections. Those tiny mechanical events created variations that often escaped notice for decades, only becoming valuable after careful examination by knowledgeable collectors who recognized that ordinary-looking coins sometimes preserve extraordinary minting stories. One of the biggest reasons collectors continue hunting 1953 Jefferson nickels is that several types of mint errors can hide in plain sight. A close inspection may reveal doubled lettering in parts of the inscriptions, a slightly off-center strike, an unusually broad rim, die cracks, clipped planchets, or other striking abnormalities that distinguish one coin from millions of others. Even minor differences can generate excitement because every genuine error represents a unique moment inside the mint, rather than damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. Experienced collectors know that authentic mint-made characteristics often require magnification, careful lighting, and comparison with verified examples before any conclusions are reached. As the search becomes more serious, attention shifts beyond obvious errors to condition and originality. A coin with sharp details, untouched surfaces, strong luster, and minimal wear can command significantly greater interest than an example that has spent decades in circulation. Collectors also study the coin's weight, confirming it matches official specifications, examine the metal for signs of alteration, inspect the strike for unusual weakness or strength, evaluate the rim for abnormalities, and carefully check every letter for genuine doubling instead of ordinary machine effects. These careful steps help separate truly collectible pieces from coins that merely appear unusual at first glance. Auction history has demonstrated that certain authenticated 1953 Jefferson nickels have achieved impressive prices depending on rarity, condition, and the nature of verified mint errors. Smaller authenticated error varieties have sold in the range of approximately $3,000 to $6,000, while especially unusual discoveries have reached around $6,500 in competitive collector markets. High-grade examples with exceptional preservation have realized about $7,000, and stronger authenticated error coins have approached $8,000. These figures represent documented collector or auction results for specific coins under particular circumstances, not guaranteed values for every 1953 Jefferson nickel that someone may find. The excitement grows even further when extremely rare combinations appear. Coins displaying dramatic mint state errors with outstanding eye appeal have been reported selling for around $8,600, while rare authenticated misstrikes have reached approximately $9,000 when demand was especially strong. In exceptional situations involving unique characteristics, remarkable preservation, or highly desirable error combinations, individual coins have realized prices approaching $11,000 at auction. These remarkable outcomes remind collectors that rarity is created by a combination of authenticity, condition, and collector demand rather than by age alone. Stories from longtime collectors often carry a powerful lesson. More than one person has unknowingly spent an unusual coin as pocket change before discovering years later that a similar authenticated example sold for thousands of dollars. Those missed opportunities continue to inspire careful searching today because every collection, inherited jar, forgotten drawer, or old family coin envelope holds the possibility of revealing something overlooked for generations. While most 1953 Jefferson nickels remain common circulation pieces, the rare exceptions are enough to keep collectors examining every detail with patience and curiosity instead of making quick assumptions. Anyone fortunate enough to discover a promising 1953 Jefferson nickel should resist cleaning or polishing it, since even light cleaning can significantly reduce collector value. Instead, inspect the weight, confirm the correct metal composition, study the strike quality, examine the rim from every angle, and carefully look for authentic letter doubling or other genuine mint-made characteristics. If the coin appears unusual, professional authentication and grading provide the most reliable way to determine whether it represents an ordinary example or a truly scarce collectible. The most valuable pieces are those whose rarity can be verified, and history has repeatedly shown that careful examination has occasionally turned an overlooked 5-cent coin into an extraordinary collector discovery. There is another reason the 1953 Jefferson nickel continues to attract serious attention, and it has little to do with age alone. Some examples reveal subtle die polishing lines, unusual die wear patterns, or faint repunched design elements that can only be appreciated under magnification. These characteristics tell the hidden story of the mint itself, where production never stopped and dies were constantly repaired or replaced to meet demand. Every authentic mint-made variation becomes a fingerprint from a specific moment in history, making certain coins far more desirable than their ordinary counterparts. That is why advanced collectors spend countless hours comparing tiny details instead of simply looking at the date. The difference between a common nickel and a remarkable collector's piece may be measured in fractions of a millimeter, yet those tiny differences have repeatedly separated coins worth only a few cents from examples that have attracted intense bidding in major auctions. Next up, a 1962 Jefferson nickel rarely captures attention when it first appears in a handful of loose change, yet that quiet little 5-cent coin has inspired decades of searching among collectors who understand that ordinary appearances can hide extraordinary stories. One important clarification comes first. Jefferson nickels were minted in the United States, not Germany, so there is no official 1962 German Jefferson nickel. The genuine 1962 Jefferson nickel, however, has become an intriguing date because subtle mint-made differences can transform an otherwise common coin into a highly desirable collectible. To most people, it is simply another nickel, but to experienced numismatists, it represents another opportunity to uncover an overlooked treasure whose true importance may not become obvious until every tiny detail has been carefully examined under magnification. During 1962, the United States Mint was producing enormous numbers of coins to satisfy the growing needs of a rapidly expanding economy. Presses operated continuously, dies endured tremendous pressure, and countless planchets moved through the minting process every day. Even with strict quality control, no production system was completely perfect. Worn dies, shifting collars, improperly seated planchets, and occasional mechanical irregularities created unexpected varieties that escaped into circulation. Those accidental differences became permanent fingerprints of the minting process, giving future collectors something unique to search for decades after the coins had already passed through thousands of hands unnoticed. The visual appeal of a genuine 1962 Jefferson nickel becomes even more fascinating under close inspection. Jefferson's portrait should display crisp facial details, while Monticello on the reverse rewards careful viewers with sharply defined columns, steps, and architectural features when preserved in higher grades. Collectors often focus on the quality of the strike because stronger strikes reveal finer design elements that weaker examples may not show. Some coins also display subtle die polishing lines, distinctive die chips, or slight doubling in parts of the inscriptions, creating combinations that make one example far more interesting than another despite sharing the same date and denomination. As curiosity grows, careful examination becomes essential. Serious collectors never judge a coin by appearance alone. They verify the correct weight, confirm the proper copper-nickel composition, inspect the strike for unusual characteristics, study the rim for abnormalities, and carefully examine every letter and number for authentic doubling rather than ordinary machine effects. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, retained cuds, and other legitimate mint errors are all possibilities that require patience and knowledge to identify correctly. Many coins that seem unusual prove to be post-mint damage, while genuine mint-created errors remain far scarcer and far more desirable. When authenticated examples reach the collector market, values can become surprisingly impressive. Smaller verified mint errors have achieved documented auction or collector sales ranging from approximately $3,000 to $6,000, depending on rarity and eye appeal. Particularly unusual discoveries with distinctive characteristics have realized around $6,500, demonstrating how even a seemingly minor production mistake can generate serious interest among advanced collectors. These figures reflect individual authenticated sales and should never be viewed as guaranteed prices for every coin carrying the 1962 date. The excitement increases dramatically for coins preserved in exceptional condition. High-grade certified 1962 Jefferson nickels displaying remarkable luster and outstanding detail have approached documented sales near $7,000, while stronger authenticated error pieces combining rarity with visual appeal have reached roughly $8,000. Even more extraordinary examples featuring dramatic mint state errors have realized approximately $8,600 in competitive auctions, proving that condition and rarity often work together to produce remarkable collector demand when the right coin appears at the right time. Only a tiny number of coins ever reach the highest level of collector fascination. Rare authenticated misstrikes showing dramatic production mistakes have been documented selling for around $9,000, while exceptionally unique or nearly one-of-a-kind examples with outstanding preservation and highly desirable characteristics have approached $11,000 at auction. These remarkable prices were achieved by specific certified coins under competitive bidding and should always be understood as historical collector sales rather than promises of future value. Every extraordinary result reminds collectors that true rarity is created by a unique combination of authenticity, preservation, and demand. Perhaps the most unforgettable stories come from people who unknowingly spent valuable coins years before learning what they had overlooked. A forgotten coin jar, an inherited collection, or decades-old pocket change has occasionally produced surprising discoveries simply because someone decided to take a closer look before sending the coins back into circulation. If a 1962 Jefferson nickel appears unusually sharp or displays strange features, resist the temptation to clean it. Carefully examine its weight, metal, strike quality, rim, and lettering, then seek professional authentication from a respected grading service. The overwhelming majority of these nickels remain ordinary 5-cent coins, but history has repeatedly shown that a very small number have rewarded careful examination with discoveries that few people ever expected. One detail that many beginning collectors overlook is the importance of surface originality. A 1962 Jefferson nickel that has remained untouched for decades often displays natural mint luster, delicate cartwheel reflections, and consistent color that immediately attract experienced buyers. Under magnification, specialists also search for tiny die markers that help identify specific die pairings, making certain examples far more desirable than others from the same production year. Even a faint doubled letter, an unusual die chip near the date, or a slightly rotated strike can completely change how a certified coin is viewed in the marketplace. These subtle characteristics explain why two nickels with the same date may look nearly identical to the average person, yet receive dramatically different attention when offered in major collector auctions. Next up, a 1971 Jefferson nickel is the kind of coin that most people would spend without giving it a second glance, yet hidden within that familiar 5-cent piece may be a fascinating story that only patient collectors ever discover. One important fact should be clear from the beginning. Jefferson nickels were produced by the United States Mint, not Germany, so there is no official 1971 German Jefferson nickel. Even so, authentic 1971 Jefferson nickels have earned lasting interest because a handful escaped the mint with unusual characteristics that transformed ordinary circulation coins into remarkable collector pieces. What appears to be nothing more than loose change can, under the right circumstances, become a coin that sparks bidding wars and inspires collectors to examine every 1971 nickel they encounter. The year 1971 represented a busy period for American coin production as demand for circulating coinage remained high across the country. Massive presses struck millions of Jefferson nickels using copper-nickel-clad planchets, and the overwhelming majority entered circulation exactly as intended. Yet inside every minting facility, tiny mechanical imperfections occasionally interrupted the process. A worn die, an improperly aligned collar, a damaged planchet, or a slight shift during striking could permanently alter an individual coin. These unexpected manufacturing events produced genuine mint-made varieties that survived long after the production lines had moved on, leaving behind subtle clues that modern collectors continue searching for more than half a century later. When viewed carefully, the design itself offers countless opportunities to detect something unusual. Jefferson's portrait should display smooth contours, distinct hair details, and well-defined lettering, while the reverse featuring Monticello rewards close inspection of the building's columns, dome, windows, and surrounding inscriptions. Collectors often notice that stronger strikes reveal remarkable architectural sharpness, while weaker strikes may expose unusual die fatigue or other production characteristics. Small die chips, minor repunching effects, doubled inscriptions, or unexpected surface textures sometimes distinguish one 1971 nickel from another, making the search far more exciting than simply reading the date for. That excitement grows because genuine mint errors often remain unnoticed for years. Experienced collectors routinely inspect the coin's weight to confirm it matches official specifications, verify the proper copper-nickel alloy, examine the strike for alignment, inspect the rim for broad strikes or collar problems, and carefully study every letter for authentic doubling. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die breaks, retained cuds, and dramatic misalignments are among the possibilities that specialists hope to uncover. Separating real mint errors from damage caused after circulation requires patience, magnification, and careful comparison with authenticated examples. 6. Documented collector sales have shown that authenticated 1971 Jefferson nickels with desirable mint errors can achieve surprisingly strong prices. Certain smaller verified error varieties have realized approximately $3,000 to $6,000 depending on rarity, condition, and collector demand. Particularly unusual authenticated discoveries have reached around $6,500 when offered in competitive markets, reminding collectors that even subtle manufacturing mistakes can dramatically change how a coin is valued. These figures represent historical auction or collector transactions involving specific certified coins rather than guaranteed prices for every example bearing the 1971 date. Condition becomes even more important as rarity increases. Certified high-grade 1971 Jefferson Nickels preserving exceptional mint luster and nearly flawless surfaces have approached documented sales near $7,000. Strong, authenticated era coins displaying dramatic visual appeal have reached roughly $8,000, while extraordinary mint state examples featuring major production errors have realized around $8,600. Every additional level of preservation enhances desirability because collectors appreciate coins that appear almost exactly as they left the mint decades ago. The highest level of excitement belongs to the rarest survivors. Authentic misstrikes with dramatic production mistakes have achieved documented auction prices around $9,000, especially when accompanied by excellent preservation and undeniable originality. On exceptionally rare occasions, unique combinations of striking errors, remarkable condition, and certified authenticity have driven competitive bidding close to $11,000. Those memorable auction results demonstrate how a humble 5-cent coin can become a centerpiece of an advanced collection, although such prices reflect individual documented sales rather than promises of future value. Perhaps the greatest lesson carried by the 1971 Jefferson Nickel is that extraordinary discoveries often begin with an ordinary moment. Someone empties a pocket, sorts through an old family collection, or opens a forgotten coin jar and notices a detail that seems just a little different. Instead of ignoring it, they look closer and uncover a genuine mint-made rarity that had quietly remained hidden for decades. If you ever find a 1971 Jefferson nickel that appears unusual, avoid cleaning it. Carefully inspect its weight, metal composition, strike quality, rim, and lettering for authentic doubling or other mint characteristics. Then seek professional authentication from a respected grading service. Careful observation has repeatedly rewarded collectors who refuse to assume that every ordinary-looking nickel was truly ordinary. Many of the most valuable 1971 Jefferson nickels were never recognized when they first entered circulation because the differences were simply too small for the average person to notice. Collectors today often spend hours studying tiny details under high-powered magnification, comparing mint marks where applicable, inspecting the spacing of the lettering, and identifying subtle die markers that link a coin to a specific production die. A faint die crack extending toward the rim, an unusually bold strike revealing every fine detail of Monticello, or delicate doubling visible only from certain angles can completely change how a certified coin is viewed. These microscopic characteristics have turned what once seemed like an ordinary 5-cent piece into a fascinating historical artifact with remarkable collector demand. Next up, an ordinary-looking 1984 Jefferson nickel can easily disappear into a cash register, a couch cushion, or the bottom of a coin jar without attracting the slightest attention. Yet some of these 5-cent pieces have quietly earned a place in the world of serious coin collecting. One important clarification deserves mention before the story begins. Jefferson nickels were minted in the United States, not Germany, so there is no official 1984 German Jefferson nickel. The authentic 1984 Jefferson nickel, nevertheless, holds a fascinating reputation because a very small number display mint-made characteristics that separate them from the millions of standard examples produced that year. For experienced collectors, every seemingly ordinary coin carries the possibility that an unnoticed production mistake has remained hidden in plain sight for decades. By 1984, modern minting technology had become increasingly efficient, but perfection remained impossible. Production lines operated at remarkable speed, striking enormous quantities of coins that would immediately enter everyday circulation. Dies gradually wore down under constant pressure, collars shifted slightly during operation, and planchets occasionally reached the presses with imperfections that escaped quality inspections. Although these events were uncommon, every genuine mistake created a permanent record of a single moment inside the mint. Long after those presses stopped running, collectors continued searching for these surviving clues, knowing that rarity often begins with the smallest manufacturing irregularity rather than dramatic visual differences. The appearance of a well-preserved 1984 Jefferson nickel offers more detail than most people ever notice. Jefferson's portrait should display clean contours, crisp lettering, and visible hair texture, while the reverse image of Monticello rewards close inspection of its architectural features. Sharp columns, clearly defined steps, balanced inscriptions, and original mint luster often separate superior examples from heavily circulated pieces. Under magnification, specialists sometimes discover subtle die polishing lines, tiny die chips, or carefully documented doubled lettering that transforms an otherwise common coin into an object worthy of extensive research and collector interest. Collectors know that true value begins with careful observation rather than excitement. Every promising coin deserves a complete examination, including verification of its proper weight, confirmation of its standard copper-nickel composition, evaluation of strike quality, inspection of the rim for abnormalities, and close study of every inscription for authentic letter doubling. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, die cracks, retained cuds, and other genuine mint-created errors remain significantly scarcer than damage caused after circulation. Patience and knowledge are essential because many unusual-looking coins ultimately prove to be ordinary pieces affected by years of use rather than mistakes made during production. Documented auction and collector records reveal that authenticated 1984 Jefferson nickels displaying verified mint errors have occasionally produced impressive results. Certain smaller authenticated error varieties have realized prices ranging from approximately $3,000 to $6,000, depending upon rarity, eye appeal, and overall preservation. Particularly unusual authenticated discoveries have approached about $6,500 when collector demand was especially strong. These historical sales demonstrate how even a modest minting irregularity can dramatically increase collector interest. Although every value reflects a specific certified coin rather than a guaranteed outcome for all examples from 1984.4. Condition plays an equally important role in determining desirability. Certified high-grade 1984 Jefferson nickels with exceptional original luster and nearly flawless surfaces have achieved documented sales near $7,000 in competitive auctions. Strong authenticated error pieces featuring visually dramatic production characteristics have reached approximately $8,000, while extraordinary mint state examples exhibiting major mint-made errors have realized around $8,600. These remarkable prices reflect the combined influence of rarity, preservation, authenticity, and collector demand working together in highly competitive markets. The rarest category includes coins that display dramatic misstrikes or highly unusual production combinations rarely encountered by specialists. Authenticated examples featuring significant mint-made misstrikes have been documented selling for around $9,000 when their originality and condition were beyond question. In exceptional circumstances involving unique characteristics, outstanding preservation, and certified authenticity, individual 1984 Jefferson nickels have approached auction prices near $11,000. Such extraordinary results remain uncommon and represent documented sales achieved by specific coins rather than predictions for every nickel carrying the same date. The enduring appeal of the 1984 Jefferson nickel lies in the reminder that extraordinary discoveries often begin with an ordinary decision to look more carefully. A forgotten bank roll, an inherited collection, a coin album tucked away for decades, or a handful of everyday pocket change could still conceal a genuine mint-made rarity waiting to be recognized. If you encounter a 1984 Jefferson nickel that appears different from the rest, avoid cleaning it. Carefully examine its weight, metal composition, strike quality, rim, and lettering for authentic doubling or other mint characteristics, and seek professional authentication before drawing conclusions. The overwhelming majority remain common circulation coins, but history has repeatedly proven that the rare exceptions are valuable precisely because so many people overlooked them. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1984 Jefferson nickel is that some of its most desirable features cannot be recognized with the naked eye alone. Advanced collectors frequently rely on magnification to identify tiny die markers, microscopic die cracks, subtle hub doubling, and distinctive polishing lines left behind during die maintenance. These nearly invisible details act like fingerprints, connecting a coin to a specific stage of production inside the mint. Two nickels struck only moments apart can appear identical to casual observers, yet one may possess a rare combination of characteristics that dramatically increases its appeal among specialists. It is this hidden world of tiny manufacturing details that keeps experienced numismatists searching through thousands of coins year after year.